We're going to talk about the surfacer. You might call this the thickness planer. It's going to plane our boards to their thickness. Most of our wood comes in at about 15/16, and then we'll surface it down, and we want to end somewhere around 13/16. That gives us another 1/16 of an inch to sand it and end at 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch is kind of a standard for, you know, the thickness of doors and face frames and plywood and stuff like that. So basically it's got a big cutter head on the top, rollers on the bottom, and you feed your board through, and it takes the shaving off the top, and we adjust our height here. We've got a digital readout. It looks like it needs a new battery. So I had to put that battery on there, turn it on. We want to make sure it's in inches. Don't zero it out. Really don't, other than turning it on and off, you don't want you to change it, because it takes a little bit of work to calibrate it, and I don't like having to mess with that. Let's say you're building your sides for your project. Let's say they're raised panel sides. So you're going to have a frame, and then you're going to have a panel, and one for each side. So what I like to do is I like to try and do as much stuff at the same time as I can. So I wouldn't want to do my frame pieces and then turn around later and do my panel pieces. It makes more sense to get all the pieces ready and then run them through at the same time. That way we know they're exactly the same thickness. So then when we jump over to the sander, then we can all run them all the same. We know they're the same. So we'll go over the rules. The minimum stock length is 12 inches. What's the minimum stock length on the table? Well, it's 12 inches, right? What about the joiner? 10 inches? Good job, guys. Wood less than 1/4 of an inch thick, that's pretty thin, needs to be surfaced on a carrier board. So if we have a real thin piece, we'll get another piece that'll go on the bottom of that, and we'll add those two thicknesses together. So if I'm at 1/4 and I'm going to add a 3/4 inch piece, I'd set it to an inch and then work my way down from there. I'm not 100% sure why we do that. I just know we do. If you try and run too thin of a piece through, it's just with the height of the rollers and the vibration in there, that piece really wants to like just kind of explode, just kind of chip out and blow up and stuff. So by having it on that carrier board, I think that gives it a more firm foundation and less rattle as it's going through there. I think you need to know that one. So what should wood less than 1/4 of an inch be surfaced with? A carrier board. Good. Number 3, the maximum cut we can take is a 1/16 of an inch. So as we're running our board through here, we can go a 1/16 of an inch, which is about a full turn, which is also 0.06 on here. So when we set our numbers up, because we're using the digital scale, I normally just subtract 0.05. It makes it easier. So if we're coming right off of the shelf and our stuff's at 15/16, I like to set it at about 0.90. Okay, that's taking a little less than a 1/16, but just because we can do a 1/16 doesn't mean we want to. So we'll go 90, and then we'll go 8.5, and normally that'll be enough to get it. That gives us a little bit extra room to sand and make sure, you know, I'd rather have a little extra sanding than take it down too thin, and now I'm going to end up thin on the sander, because our surfacer leaves some pretty good marks and stuff. Sometimes we'll have snipe at the end of the board, or we'll have just a little uneven as it rolls through there. So I like to have a little extra room to sand it. So if we start at 90, then go to 8.5, most of the time that's going to get it. Every now and then, if we didn't glue something very flat and we've got a little bit more to take off to get it even, we can go a little bit more. But I normally don't go lower than 8.1, because that would be 13/16. Is that right? No. Yeah, 8.1 would be 13/16. So I'd really try not to go lower than that. Okay, don't plane wood with loose pieces, knots, nails, screws, dirt, paint, excessive glue. We'll try and scrape our glue off. We don't want to run something through with paint, because it's going to just gum up those knives. If we run a nail through, it'll chip out our knife in that one spot, and then from then on, it'll just leave a little ridge where that little chip used to be. There's no knife there, so it'll leave a ridge. A knot can blow up in that thing and get stuck, and stuff doesn't roll through as good. I mean, if it's a tight knot, it's okay, but a loose knot we don't want. Don't change the depth of the cut while the board's being fed through. So if you start running your piece through and you can't, it's not going to go, it's stuck, it's not, it's not going to run. Most of the time, if you run a board next to it, if our settings are right, then it'll kind of pick it up and go. But if worst case scenario, just shut it off, wait for it to stop, and then we'll readjust this. But if we adjust it while your board's stuck in there and we loosen it up, it can send it flying out. And we do have a segmented in-feed roller, and so because we have that, we can run, boards. We can run different boards in there all at the same time. The only thing we need to watch, we need to make sure we grab them as they come out, because if they tip on their way out, they can actually screw our surfacer up. I'll show you that. Do not look into the planer while it's running. That's the last one. Let me show you what I mean by that tipping. Okay, as your board comes out, if you don't grab it, it's going to kind of tip like this. Well, the next piece that comes, that starts pushing that through there, instead of pushing it through nice and easy, it kind of creates some friction here, and it catches against this. It'll screw your board up, it'll screw this up. So you can run one set through, and you can actually let them just hang. Here they are hanging. Then come over to this side, pull them out, and then start again. Or have somebody catch for you. Okay, so to adjust this, normally we'd have a number here. My battery's dead, so I'm just going to use this as a reference on this ruler. But we're going to loosen the knob in the middle, and we're going to raise and lower this to whatever our number is. So I'm going to set that up about 7/8. And this has that same twist lock that the joiner has, but sometimes it doesn't. It's already popped out a lot of the time. We turn on the dust collector, and then when we put our board on, we're just going to hold it flat and push it in firmly. Okay. Then we just push the red button to shut it off.